when a situation where you find that a person look at this,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, welcome back. Let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Buhari endorses Abdullahi Adamu as APC chairman. Convention to ratify nomination. You'd also see aspirants kick. And there's a pictorial there of the Nigeria's First Lady, Aisha Buhari, at the National Assembly yesterday, and she seeks special seats for women. Other stories on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, right at the top on page 20. You'll see the story about Gusau impeached, Senator Nasiha sworn in as Zamfara deputy governor. We're going to be taking a look at, perspectives to that story as the show progresses. And on page 30, we lost 54 billion naira to flight cancellations, bird strikes. That's according to airlines, and 80% of military personnel performing police duties in 36 states. And this is according to the CDS. And on page 5, you see the story about agric intervention, federal government to buy 2 billion naira cattle for Taraba. I was led by spirit, pastor held for rape says. Spirit indeed. You're going to see the details of that story on page 28 on the Daily Trust newspaper. And on page 5, court orders for feature of 10 property funds linked to Yeri. You know that story. A technical team crew rather back there seem to be laughing about that story, and we're going to be taking a look at it later. These are some of the major stories on the Daily Trust.
Let's move on to Blueprint newspaper today. The lead story there says affirmative action. Aisha Buhari storms parliament. NAS reserves 111 seats for women. And we have writers here that says 37 in Senate, 74 in reps. Greater women participation will guarantee stability, says Lawang. We also have right underneath that particular story, the pictorial of the president's wife, Aisha Buhari, the first lady, at the parliament. All right, moving on, we have FEC approves 2 billion naira cattle for Taraba. OK's 56.3 billion naira for completion of Abaji Koton Karfe Road. All right, at the bottom there, you have police retirement benefits make up 1.84 trillion naira under defined scheme, says Pencom. You can find details of that on page 21. FG increases feeding of school pupils to 100 naira each. Details of that story on page 8. That's quite an interesting one. On page 5, you'd find Buhari assents electoral bill Friday. Well, we cannot wait to see the day. Use your experience to strengthen INEC, Yakubu tells Commissioner REC. And then these are some of the stories on the front page of Blueprint newspaper today.
Okay, let's take a look at some more stories on the Nation newspaper. Lawmakers to vote on VAT, power devolution, others. And the writers there state Constitution review enters crucial stage. Speaker to reps, you must participate. And there's a pictorial there of a car in flames, talking about violence. Mars Ocean PDP ward delegate Paul, quite tragic. You're going to see the details of that story right on page 30 on the Nation newspaper. And right at the top on page 2, court orders for feature of 10 properties linked to Yeri. And on page 7, IMF calls for banks recapitalization, COVID-19 hits sector. And to other stories on the Nation this morning, battle for APC top post shifts to zones. Zamfara gets new deputy governor after Gusau's sack. You'd also see the stories about Aregbe Shola's man asks court to void Oyetola's victory. And airlines lost $60 million to bird strikes in 1 year. These are some of the major stories on the Nation.
All right, with that, we'll move on to Punch. Constitution amendment, that's the lead there. Outrage as National Assembly considers life pension for presiding officers. And writers here that says it's wasteful, self-centered, rejected. CSOs tell lawmakers it's financial burden. Committee recommends pension for Senate President, Speaker, and deputies. All right, at the top there, you'd find a story that says LCCI, others back National Assembly on proposed railways, airports, power decentralization. We also have current system suffocating Nigerians, and that's from attributed to Bishop Kuka. We have 1.04 billion dollars spent on fuel imports in 2021, says CBN. Strike continues. ASU insists Ngige pleads with the union. Details of that story on page 2. Right beside the nameplate there, you'd find fuel scarcity persists as NNPC releases 387.6 million liters. Reps deepen probe. Owando Duke Oil insists government approved dirty fuel. You can find details of that story on page 31. We also have the pictorial there of the fire that destroyed a finance ministry in Vata room yesterday. And then right below it, you find FG school feeding cost 100 naira per child, scheme to gulp 1 billion naira daily. We also have Ogun pastor rapes member during deliverance from spirit husband. And court orders interim forfeiture of Yari's U.S. properties and others. These are some of the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
You know, I can't wait for our reviewer to talk and to say something about that story. Okay, let's take one more. The Guardian newspaper this morning. How to Restructure Nigeria by AFDB President Adesina clarifies why older generation must give way to young. Agbakoba, Abdullahi, others unveil next president. And you find all the stories on page 2 on The Guardian. FEC okays 58 billion contracts for works, humanitarian affairs. And on page 5, government fixes February 28 to resolve issues with ASU. I hope that comes to a conclusion. You find other stories just below the pictorial there. NNPC releases distribution details of 387.5 million liters of petrol to solve scarcity. Constitution review splits Attorney General, Justice Minister's office. And Buhari would sign electoral bill on Friday, says presidency source. Nasiha replaces impeached Gusau as Zamfara deputy governor. These are some of the major stories on The Guardian this morning.
Yes, indeed.
And we have General Editor, Daily Trust, Hamza Idris, to talk to us about some of these stories on our dailies this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
You know, this story, the one about, I was led by spirit, pastor held for rape, says. Is this how deliverance are done now?
Very funny, because we have funny characters. Yes, and Nigerians are so gullible that, you know, everything goes. But it's high time for serious regulation of preachings in Nigeria, both for Muslims, for Christians, and for traditionalists. Because you see all sorts of characters, people who don't even know where they are headed to, you know, forming churches, forming small mosques, and then forming shrines, and then deceiving people. But I blame significantly Nigerians who are so gullible, who subject themselves to some of these crooks. You can imagine you know, a poor lady seeking support from God, and then, you know, subjecting herself, you know, only for him to defile her. And then when he was taken to police station, he now attributed.
So he was led by spirit.
Yes. Can you, which spirit? You know, we've been debating that story since yesterday. Almost everyone, apart from being shocked, angry, you know, is so laughable also for someone to attribute his travels to God, to say that, and again, she was so courageous, you know, to even have reported the matter to the police. In some places, she would just keep quiet. At the end of the day, you just see her with pregnancy. but she reported him, and he confessed. So it's very funny, honestly.
Okay, now with that, let's move on to the lead story. Buhari endorsing Abdullahi Adamu as APC chairman.
I'm sure our Nigerians, the attention of Nigerians, just the way it has been on the president to sign the electoral bill, I think the same attention has been on happenings around the ruling party. And all over the world, people tend to give special attention to the ruling party because you need a stable political party for the government to perform, because political party is a serious business. It's only in Nigeria that we reduce it to almost nothing. But as you can see, there is serious competition between the ruling APC and then the leading opposition, PDP. And this is more or less an exclusive to us. We dig and then talk to relevant people who now told us insider story of what happened after President Buhari's meeting with the governors. You know, there had been house trading as to which zone should produce the national chairman of the party, and you have more than 10 contenders, all of them eminently qualified. But from our findings during the meeting of the president with the over 20 APC governors, of course, there are many blocks within the APC, and they all submitted different names, and all those people, you know, as I said earlier, you know, they are eminently qualified. They are people, they are all right. But at the end of the day, in order not to, increase the tension within the party, the president interjected and said, yeah, of course, since the chairman will come from the North Central, Senator Abdullahi Adamu should be the chairman. And you people should use consensus. You know, the drama around consensus, yes. Direct primaries, and then in indirect primaries. You know, when the electoral bill was submitted to the president the last time, he rejected it basically because of that clause which said direct primaries.
So he already had his own interest before he suggested consensus.
To greater extent, it had been there for a very long time, but it was abused. This issue of consensus, issue of indirect primaries, you know, they were abused. But the president said they should go and bring them back, but with a caveat, meaning now that, of course, we have Abdullahi Adamu as the leading contender or the supposedly agreed person to be the next chairman. All other contenders, I think, if we are to go by the provision of the new electoral bill, which will be signed by the president tomorrow, they will have to now give, you know, a written approval that yes, they agree that Abdullahi Adamu should. Because you can see our second rider indicated that some of them really kick. Yes, but from our findings, it's not really a big deal. Where the governors are interested in are other serious positions apart from that of the chairman. Of course, they conceded this to the president because of the enormous roles played by Abdullahi Adamu. For instance, you know, he has been the chairman of the committee set up by the caretaker chairman and governor of Yobe Malabuli to reconcile members. And then the man has been going from pillar to post, you know, going to states, meeting stakeholders, pleading with them to sheath their sword. And of course, he achieved a lot without showing any interest for, you know, being self-serving in the process. Some people told us this was basically why the president said, well, if this man has been going around reconciling party members and then they've been listening to him probably because of his age, because of his versatility, because of maybe his pedigree, as a former, chairman of NPN, ruling party, especially in the All Plateau State. This was over 40 years ago, and then governor, and now senator since 2011, and a lot of other qualities. I think the president believes that he will be a galvanizing force, and that is why he pushed for him. And we understand that most of the governors have even called and celebrated him, and they agree that he should take over from where the Yobe State governor will start. But only time can tell. Yes.
Right. Now let's take a look at other stories. Yesterday, the wife of the president was at the National Assembly, led by a delegation of women to seek, special seats for women. But the minority leader, Ndudi Lumelu, has said that her presence there was discriminatory and intimidating to the menfolk.
I honestly, I like it. Almost all Nigerians saluted the First Lady because what she did was unprecedented. I can't remember the last time I saw First Lady in the National High School.
I think it's the first, I don't know, the first time.
This is the first in recent history, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the next 30 years, the way, we have this day in history, or, yes.
It's going to be in the books.
Yes, the First Lady will be remembered. You see, certain actions tend to give you, an unassailable opportunity that debate, bills, and all that would not give you. Now, she went to the National Assembly alongside some ministers, high-profile women, and not for confrontation, but we are here to plead with you. And she humbled the leadership, and they conceded many seats for them.
Yeah, that's 111, yeah.
And that is huge, because how many senators do we have now? Are there up to 3 in the Senate? Very few of them, I think 2 or 3, thereabout. Now they are going home with about 6. But we don't know how they are going to actualize it, which of the senatorial zones will agree to now allow women to have it. But that notwithstanding, I think it was a landmark achievement, and the First Lady deserves serious applause. I think she's a First Lady with a difference, the way she does many of her things. Yes.
So do you agree with Lowen that greater women participation will promote stability in Nigeria?
It should. You can see the role women play in stabilizing homes. So I find it very difficult to manage my children. Yes, sometimes during weekends, if the mother says, okay, let me pick something somewhere, or let me visit my tailor, I'm leaving you with the children, just 2 or 3. She will come back, and find me frowning. Because the children will disorganize you. But, women are so wonderful, and they really get agitated, you see. So, and of course, we have some of them that misused the opportunity given to them, but you can see, honestly, women are managers of resources. They are stabilizers.
Very true.
And then sometimes they attract natural sympathy if you allow them to lead. So it's not a bad thing, honestly, and the Senate President was right when he said they are a stabilizing force. But we hope that they should do the needful. And I strongly believe that without even the favors, if the women folk would put their act together, they have the capacity to determine who becomes what in Nigeria, considering their numerical strength. But I might be wrong. The people are saying that most women are so envious of themselves. Yes, sometimes even if they have their way, you see them sabotaging themselves. And at the end of the day, they have to now plead for something which ordinarily they should have absolute control over.
So, but do you think women in politics in the past have actually, set a positive pace for, women coming up now, like the likes of Desiani and co?
That is the bad example that even yesterday, Sarah Ochepe in Plateau State,
Exactly.
she was sent to prison for collecting some of the loot, let's put it that way, of Desiree. Desiree, she is there, but we don't know where she is now because she has citizenship of many countries.
She's off grid.
Yes, we learned that she has citizenship of many countries. So she moved around, but home is home. I know how she is missing home, you see, and so she made good use of that wonderful opportunity. She would have been here. So I pray that women should learn a lesson from what happened to some of them. Look at good example. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is there in the World Bank. You have some women deputy governors, especially in the South.
Amina Mohammed.
Look at Amina Mohammed from Gombe. She's there in the World Bank. Look, there is a virtue in doing things right because the reward will always come. Some people tend to rush, and I think some women are being misled by the men around them. I know how we behave. Somebody will tell his wife or his sister that, look, it's your opportunity. If you didn't harvest very well, you will suffer at the end of the day. And you see, it is a very short grace, let me put it this way. And at the end of the day, people will regret their actions or inaction. But it's time for us, irrespective of gender, for people to do the right thing. Because if the society, gets it right, all of us will enjoy. Why are we rushing to go to other climes? It's simply because things are going normal. There is equality. We have basic privileges of existence for every other person. And then, corruption is less attractive. Here, why people are so amenable to corruption is because of uncertainty, fear of the unknown. But by the time leaders sacrifice the greed in them and then provide basic services, education, health, good roads, security, and all that, people will have less appetite for corruption because people are afraid that, okay, if I leave the office, how can I power my generator? If I leave the office, the healthcare insurance will no longer be there for those who have it now. So people tend to amass wealth so that they can maintain the status. So I hope that governments at all levels, from local to national, leaders should do the right thing.
Talking about amassing wealth.
I actually wanted to ask, for women in the North particularly, it's been a problem for women actually actively participating in politics in the North. But with this, do you think they will be given, greater chances to?
Yes,
explore?
but the chance will only be there if we try to have an instrument to enforce this. Because it's one thing to say that we are giving you A, B, C, D, and it's another thing to get it when you go back to the grassroots. You elect members of House of Assembly, House of Reps, and Senate from the grassroots. So I think we should have legal backing. The legislature should find a way of saying, maybe it could be rotational, that in every state, maybe during each election season, it should be rotated. Because this is the only way to guarantee the opportunity. Because if you just leave it open, I don't think any of the constituencies will just say, okay, women have it. But if you strongly have an instrument that will guarantee that, it will be easy. I know that in Bayelsa State, for instance, in one of the senatorial zones, they have this arrangement that a senator will only come once. Whether you perform or you don't perform, If you come after 4 years, it has to move to another local government, then it has to move to another local government. To greater extent, it has reduced the competition, even though it has its disadvantage, because they are now craving for changing that norm, because they said because of that agreement, they rarely climb the ladder in the National Assembly. You don't see a ranking senator from that senatorial zone, which in a way also affects their opportunity to have some privileges, maybe heading committees, attracting some projects and all that. But I don't think if it is wrong for our leaders to say, okay, let's take Bauchi for instance, to say maybe in 2023, Bauchi Central should allow the senatorial seat for women. Then in 2027, right, it should move to Katagum zone, and then in 2031 or thereabout, it should move to the other senatorial zone. If we can do this across the states, I think the politicians would not really give headache for women to get the seats.
Now, you talked about amassing wealth earlier. How about the outrage, as National Assembly is considering, retirement or life pension for presiding officers?
It's a dicey question, Hussaina. Yes, you see, we should get it right. Of course, we have three arms of government. Presidents, vice presidents, chief justice of Nigeria and others, they enjoy this. So personally, I see no reason why members of the National Assembly, the principal officers, should not enjoy that. But with a caveat, what are they taking home now? You understand? Because why you have pension, gratuities, and all that, it is to immune the hearts and minds of people to resist temptation to desecrate the offices given to them. As I said earlier, people, because of fear of the unknown, they amass serious wealth, right? But if you know that after giving your all, and at the end of the day, your life is guaranteed, even if you are out of office. If you know it is guaranteed that you will not have problem getting health care delivery, the car you will drive, the food you will eat, the security around your home, and all that. If that is guaranteed, this is the thinking of right-thinking people around the world. And that is why you see in saner climes, in advanced societies, only rare occasions you see people amassing this wealth because they know that their lives are guaranteed. I think the National Assembly, it is in this spirit that they want this opportunity for themselves. But what about the school teacher?
Exactly.
What about the health personnel? What about the policeman who spend the night out there, securing our lives? It should be holistic. I want the three tiers of government, legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, not to be thinking of themselves. They should look at countrywide opportunity for everyone to have this sense of belonging. This is, I think, the summary of it.
Okay. Now, we're still seeing, on the Punch newspaper that the school feeding program, 100 naira per child, and the scheme, according to report, is to go up 1 billion naira daily. But 100 naira, how much of a nutritious meal can you get for 100 naira?
Egg is now around 17. Yes, but maybe, if you are going to a restaurant to eat alone, in Abuja, there are places that you will spend up to 20,000 for you to this thing. But I know that if you go to Wuse Market to shop, maybe you will be, with that 20,000, you will buy like 2 chicken, you will buy 2 mudu of rice, you will buy tomatoes and all that. And if you take it home, maybe you have an average of 5 family. That will last for 3 days. For you understand where I am getting to? Yes. So it's not the 100 naira or the 1 billion from the other side, but doing the right thing.
Exactly.
This is where I'm coming from. I know in my village, in Katsina, of recent, because of this feeding program, you see parents, I'm telling you, in the morning, sending their children to school. And what they give them is cocoa. You know cocoa?
Yes.
Is this pap?
Yeah.
And then kosei,
Kosei.
that's bean cake. But you see very early after Subi prayer, the children, you see them.
Oh, there's food.
You understand what I'm saying? The level of poverty in Nigeria is so alarming that parents will be willing to send their children to school because they know that their breakfast is guaranteed. So if the contractors, if the people entrusted with this feeding program, if they will endeavor to allow 50 naira to get to the children, I'm telling you it's worth it. Do you know why I'm saying 50 naira? Because it's practically impossible for the 100 naira to be spent on the children, because they will put administrative charges and all that. But I tell you, it's worth it, and it will encourage school enrollment. Because if you look at the figures, they are impressive across Nigeria. And this is simply because parents believe that the breakfast of their children is guaranteed if they go to the school. And if it is lunch, they will remain there because they want to get the food which they will not get at home. And then in between, they will be taught, some lessons in the classroom. And before you know it, they will finish primary school, they will go to junior secondary school, then they will go to secondary school, and ultimately to the university. It's not a bad thing, but the problem is in many places, even that 100 or 50 naira will not get to the schools.
Yeah,
So
just
people
like
will just
an instance that happened, I think last year in Niger State, there were complaints, they were giving quarter egg or so.
Yeah,
and it was a controversial story.
Yes, but as I said, it's worth it. If you look, if you look at the effect, because some of these children, if they remain at home, they will not take breakfast. There is nothing for them. Many families, go to bed with just 1 meal in a day. So the children will be so excited that, look, if I go to the school, I will be given half an egg, maybe with half cup of pap or tea, even if it is just lifting. The children will take it. We are poor. We are poor. So it's a very good initiative, honestly. But as I said, we have greedy politicians. We have greedy contractors. We have people who don't really fear God. Somebody will be giving this money to take care of maybe 10 schools for 2 months. He will provide the food for just 2 weeks. He will bribe the headmaster, and then they will not take the food. So that is, supervision is key. Government should find a way of ensuring that at least those 5 days in a week that the children were given this food, no matter how small it is, because the children will go to school.
Okay. Now let's talk about fuel. It seems like the queues are back again, even though the CBN is saying that government actually spent $1.04 billion on fuel imports in 2021, but it seems like the queues are back again.
It will remain with us for a very long time because the supply chain was obstructed. Yes, and we've been living on fake life. Let me put it this way. Yes, because the dollars are not there. We have to scramble to get it, and then import. And then when we import, we use the roads to transport the commodity. You can imagine somebody driving 34,000 or 36,000 or 40,000 liters of fuel from Lagos to Maiduguri. How long will it take? And then when you go to Maiduguri to distribute it to some of the over 20 local government areas there. And this is it. All the pipelines have been busted. Ordinarily from the ports, you should transport this fuel through the pipelines because you have depots. We have like 2 outside Abuja because you have one in Suleja, you have another one in Mina, right? If you go to Jos, you have one. You have another one in Kaduna, you have another one in Gombe, you have another one in Yola, but they are all not functioning. But initially they were built to be fed by our refineries in Port Harcourt, in Kaduna, and in Wari. All this infrastructure come at us now. So we have to now import the fuel first, and then we now distribute. I wish this administration had succeeded in building some of these refineries too.
And then, you know, the NNPC saying they released 387.6 million liters of fuel.
Yeah.
Then the reps deepening probe, even as some, you know, fueling stations are saying that the government approved the dirty fuel in the first place.
Yeah. You see, they summoned the group managing director, and he gave his explanation. Then some of the importers were also summoned. One of them claimed that when they brought the commodity, it was supervised by relevant agencies. You see, Husseina, failure is an orphan. It is only success that has multiple fathers, multiple parents, friends, and acquaintances. We have recorded a failure, and very few people will have that mindset to accept that, look, I have failed, let's go on, we will not repeat it. But I think the group managing director, he apologized to Nigerians, and it was an unprecedented move on his side. But above all, I think the debate over who is right or who is wrong is immaterial to Nigeria. Yesterday, I bought a liter at 220 naira in a filling station, just in the outskirts of Abuja. Instead of buying it at 160 naira or 164 or thereabout, I bought it at 220 naira, and I gladly paid because it was safer for me than to buy from the black marketers by the roadside, because many vehicles were grounded. Because some of these young men, they put water, more than half of the keg, and then top it with the oil. Now, when you put it in your vehicle, immediately you move, the vehicle will stop. So it's a serious problem, but the ultimate solution is for us to get our house right by fixing the refineries, building more refineries, so that this issue of having fuel or not having fuel will be a thing of the past. Government officials have been saying Nigerians are the forgetting type, that this is the first time in 6 years or thereabout that we are recording this. But government is made not to fail. You are not expected to fail.
Okay, now let's quickly go on a short break. When we come back, you're going to talk to us about, this unfair impeachment issue. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. And General Editor Daily Trust, Hamza Idris, is still here with us in the studio. So now, can you talk to us, about the impeachment of the Deputy Governor of Zamfara State and the restatement of another barely 24 hours, after his impeachment?
Everything happened in less than 6 hours. I sometimes I enjoy my children to watch cartoons, because it's only, when you watch cartoon, you see where things happening, and then the children so excited, and immediately after the program, you see them trying to imitate.
Yes.
So, it's, on a serious note, it was a serious sad development in Zamfara, because, of course, there was the CJ, that is Chief Justice of the state. She formed a committee to look at the allegations against Gusau, the Deputy Governor. Of course, they did their work, and then they submitted. We don't know how long or what miracle was used to now study the findings of that committee, to take it to the governor, to take it to the State House of Assembly. Now, we don't know the miracle the State House of Assembly used to peruse the findings and then to write their report to certify that the Deputy Governor was found wanted. We don't know the miracle that was done, how they transmitted that to the governor. We don't know the miracle that the governor did to now accept that and then to now write the assembly that he is satisfied, and then nominating a serving senator as deputy governor. We don't know the miracle the House did to screen the senator and then give him a clean bill. We don't know the miracle done for the governor to now invite the Chief Justice to swear in the senator.
It looks like a well thought out plan.
It was, but it's because with Nigeria, we have banana republics, countries within a country. Yes, enormous powers that governors exude, which is so unfortunate. But the bottom line that everyone is aware of is simply because this young man refused to follow the governor to APC. Yes, and it's very sad that the legal system is allowing this to happen. That once you are a governor, you can do and undo.
Does this have any implication?
It does. It does. It does. Now, the sad thing, the deputy governor is a young person in his 30s, I think. Now, look at what they did to him. Simply because maybe of principle, Like he said, look, I'm not going with you. And must you follow your boss? After all, did the governor win the election? He didn't win. He didn't win. Matawala didn't win in Zamfara. It was the court because of the crisis in APC that gave the mandate to him. In a Senate claim, when he defected to the APC, he should be removed. Because the APC, the court said APC did not qualify to this. Even if they won the governorship election, the Senate seats, 3 of them, the House of Reps, the House of Assembly, all of them, the APC lost those seats. But because we ignore or we forget history or we desecrate it, we manhandle it, we mangle it in Nigeria with executive fate. That is why we've seen what we've seen in Zamfara State yesterday. In the first place, it was, you see, APC seats, but they had issues. Then the courts now sack all of them. They gave you as maybe the second winner in the election, being the candidate of the PDP. And then after some months, you now defected to the party that was disqualified. And now you insisted that your deputy must follow you. And because he didn't follow you, you now use your powers. You use the judiciary, you use the legislature, rubber stamp legislature to now remove this young man. And I blame the federal government. Simply because we have separation of powers, that does not mean that the president, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and all others, the National Assembly, they should watch as democracy is being trampled upon in the state. I think we should understand that separation of powers does not mean allowing people to misbehave. Because if we allow this to continue, even though we have been seeing it, many governors, once they fall apart with their deputies, they bring up, trump up charges and then just sack them instead of the other way. Ordinarily, it is the governor that should leave, not the deputy governor. But here we are now. The deputy governor is gone, and it has been sealed.
That's it. Right now, we're even seeing a backlash as PDP are charging the governor to court.
How many times? When he defected, they went to court. But legal technicalities, as I said, legal technicalities. In the same Zamfara, look at Yari now. They have taken, they have seized assets from him worth billions of naira. Now, Hussaina and Zainab, imagine the attention, the energy, the resources deployed to remove this young deputy governor. Assuming this is done to the insecurity in Zamfara, what will be the result? You understand what I'm saying? Zamfara is the most battered state in Nigeria in terms of insecurity. If you go there, most of the local governments are empty. They are ghost towns. People are not there. They have been sacked by bandits. But all the politicians, I may be wrong, maybe there are 1 or 2 who we think if they are the head of affairs, they will concentrate. But they don't care about the plight of the people. This is Zamfara. We're talking about Zamfara state. If you Google Zamfara now, I'm telling you, 1,000 out of 1,000 results that you will get, more than 99% will give you results on insecurity.
It's quite tragic.
People have been killed, people have been maimed, women have been raped, children have been sacked from schools, but the leader, they don't care. Now the governor, maybe he must have done and wine with the new deputy, and they will start fighting very soon. You understand what I'm saying?
But
it was so
one
terrible.
of the major reason that he was impeached is because the deputy governor organized a rally, when bandits attacked a particular community.
And what did the governor do? What did the governor do that time? Where was he? I'm telling you, if you go and check at that hour, he too was holding political meeting. The governor. He was holding political meeting. Was he in one of the sacked villages? Was he at any of the IDP camps? If we have, we don't even have IDP camps in Zamfara. He didn't, deem it fit to have a befitting IDP camp to take care of his people. It's
so
just
what happens
about
to those who have been sacked from the
We
community?
had a story last week. That was our cover for Saturday. For political reasons, they don't even want to have IDP camps. That is why you see women and children living in primary schools without toilets. Some of them living in the outskirts of towns, in makeshift tents. Some of them have relocated to neighboring states. Some of them have even relocated to Niger in search of safety. But the politicians are there, battling because I didn't join you in PDP or APC, because all the charges against the deputy governor, they will not stand in the eye of law in Sena Klein. I'm telling you, I'm a political reporter, and I know, assuming he followed the governor to APC, will this have happened?
No.
If he followed the governor to APC and he held that rally, will he have been sacked?
He would have been dining with them altogether.
You see, that is it. It's a terrible thing. And as I said, at the national level, our leaders, the National Assembly, Senate President, Speaker, Principal Officers, the President, the Vice President, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and others, they shall have a way of intervening in some of these things. Because basically, this is why people have lost confidence in leadership, because they feel they have been left alone. They don't have this sense of belonging. You can imagine, go to Zamfara now and then ask people. I can assure you that hundreds of thousands of women are not even aware that there is a change of guard in the office of the deputy governor, because that is not their concern.
Right.
Yes, that is not their concern. Their concern is what to get to give their children, to have access to health, to have access to education. But the children are not even going to school.
Well, we do hope, the situation turns out for the better. Thank you so much for coming on Daybreak this morning. We'll be speaking with the General Editor, Daily Trust, Hamza Idris, talking to us about some of the stories that made headway on our dailies this morning.
But in a situation where you find that they must look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that